Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is Iname Cement 2025. Today's race at 197 kilometers. We're talking about 120 miles in length, and they got circuits at the finish of today's race. The circuit is technical, twisty, cobblestones, rough cobbles in sections, one small climb roquette, but only about 600 meters in length, but cobblestones. And again, very narrow, very technical. After that, more cobblestones before the finish, and then a slight uphill rise after super technical section coming in the finish. Normally here at the semi-classic, this usually comes down to field sprint. So why am I covering today's race after we just got done doing two big Belgium classics of Omloop and Kern-Brussels-Kerns on the weekend? Well, Mathieu van der Poel has decided to change his program. Was going to start at Torino Adriatico, but now he decided to start here at Cement, so we need to cover it up here on the Butterfly Effect. When the cameras come on 100 kilometers ago, we'll call 8 riders in the front group at about 2 minute and 40 second gap. Now, when they come into 3 laps to go, we start seeing the break is getting closer and closer to the field as the field's getting anxious back there. Then we start seeing a crash with 72 kilometers to go at the back of the peloton. We'll see another crash happen again. And after this next crash, Alpecin de Koenig is on the front, and they're drilling it like crazy. With about 60 kilometers to go, Mathieu van der Poel is getting launched by his teammate. He's got Arnaud De Lie on his wheel as they're hopping the curb there to go over that to keep the speed. We start knowing right this moment that Mathieu van der Poel's on form because Alpecin de Koenig's been setting up this attack. So right now it's time to sit up on the Chesterfield because you know first page rider Mathieu van der Poel's looking fantastic here at Cement. Now how good is he? Well, this group gets brought back fairly quickly, and then we see Samuel Gayes from Intermarché throw an attack. He gets caught back too, and now we're coming into two laps to go. We'll call it 58 kilometers. Each lap's about 29K in length. So right now at 58 kilometers to go, you see the original break. Well, the peloton's hot on their heels. They're going to wrap those guys up, and then with 51 kilometers to go, Mathieu van der Poel is going to throw in another attack, sitting down in the saddle as he's coming through the left corner there. This is a hard feeling back there for Intermarché as he's watching Mathieu van der Poel, first page rider, putting the power to the pedals. Once he gets brought back from the peloton back there, all being encouraged from the move from Mathieu van der Poel, then we start seeing a 9-rider break go up the road. In this 9-rider break, Samuel Gayes, he's racing wisely. He doesn't want to go to the finish with 8 other riders. It gets hard to win the race if you're not the fastest guy in this group of 8. And tactically, of course, you can't 100% control the group when there's 8 guys attacking you. So he's kind of soft pedaling in the back. But the Soudal Quick-Step rider in the front, Martin, you see him swinging his hand right there. So you know the chemistry of this 9-rider group here is not fantastic. Now the peloton behind is being led by Uno X and Arkea Samsic with these 2 laps to go. We'll call it 1.5 right now as they're trying to hold the gap at about 30 seconds. They start coming down further into 1 lap to go as we see Liddell Trek get on the front with Tim de Klerk. That's 3 teams chasing, so the group of 9 now is getting interested, and Gay starts rotating through with these guys, but the chemistry is still not 100%, and it's 20 kilometers to go as we see the pelotons hot on their heels. Now we're going to see some bad luck for Arnaud De Lie. He's going to have an issue in the middle of the peloton there, and best guess right now, I'd say somebody took out one of his front spokes because he's having front wheel problems as he's wobbling like crazy. He gets ready to dismount his bike with like a cyclocross dismount. Then the bike just kind of flips up. As you know, the front wheel got locked up in the fork right there and locked it to the pavement. Now his bike's flipping up in the air. He handles it okay as he's already off the bike, and then drops the bike after he takes his computer off the handlebar and waits for the Lotto Destiny car. As the car arrives, we'll see his teammate pass by on the left side that got dropped earlier. That's Stefan. Once Arnaud De Lie gets his fresh bike, he gets a push from the mechanic, and now he's flying behind the car. He comes up to Stefan, but Stefan looks like he's having a hard cement right now. It looks like his legs are about blown, but Arnaud De Lie stuck to the bumper of the car. He'll start to get to the back of the peloton there as the group up front of 9 is starting to get wrapped up from the peloton behind. Now, as those guys are getting wrapped up, we see Arnaud De Lie just getting a little squeeze and a little bump as he threads the needle there. And then he goes through the left turn and he finds his way up to about the middle of the peloton. But now we're starting the only climb on today's Samoun Classic course here in Belgium. This thing's only 600 meters, but it's cobblestones, and it's been narrow and technical and twisty and curvy throughout this circuit. So Arnaud De Lie's done a great job of getting to the front after bumping off shoulders left and right and getting squeezed left and right along with that. Now he's got himself almost to the front as we hit the cobblestone climb here, and we see it's Soudal Quick-Step on the front. Soudal Quick-Step's driving it, while 12 kilometers ago there's a crash at the back, and it's Stefan Lotto Destiny. This kid's had a hard cement right now as he's going down in this crash. Looked like he got out of it okay as we see him get back on his bike and start driving it. We go up to the front of the peloton with 10 kilometers to go, and we see that it's Alpecin de Koenig on the right side of the picture there, Pseudo Quickstep on the left, and FDJ's flying up the middle. This is the drag race in the wide section of the road here on this circuit course, because they know with 8 kilometers to go, it's going to get narrow and technical again. As we come into 8 kilometers to go, we see Alpecin de Koenig has won the battle flying into the technical parts of this course. Now we're coming into 7 kilometers to go, and we see an attack by Luca Van Boven there from Intermarché. He attacks, and if you look up front at Timo right there, Timo Kilic, Alpecin de Koenig, he's looking over to the right. He sees it coming, so he follows it up along with the Arkea Samsic rider. That's 3 riders in front. Now behind what's happening, if I take you a little bit back on the picture there, it was Mathieu van der Poel opening up the gap there for Timo Kilic to go with that move so that he can get his rider up there in a group of 3. Okay, I've used this tactic many times. I don't know if this is the tactic I'd like to use with Mathieu van der Poel in this group that could possibly win the sprint. But it's not a bad tactic either, so I'm not against it. Nobody's a knucklehead. The 3 riders are going up the road, and we see FDJ's driving it on the back. Once they come through the little twisty technical chicane there, FDJ jumps the rider across. Now we got 4 guys in the front group, but only for a couple hundred meters, because Total Energy is going to take over the front, and they're going to bring these 4 riders back with about 4 kilometers, 3.9 kilometers to go. As they're bringing them back, they're on the right side of the group of 4, and the peloton's flying through on the left with Mathieu van der Poel sitting, I'll call it 5th wheel at this moment. With Mathieu van der Poel in good position and Total Energy on the front, we come into the next technical cobblestone section. Once we hit this, the peloton at the front starts blowing up just a little bit, and Mathieu van der Poel has to come around the group of 3 riders in front of him and close the gap to the front rider so that he doesn't let this guy get away. As Mathieu van der Poel's closing this gap, you know right away, sitting on the Chesterfield, if you didn't already see it with his first and second big attacks with 65 and 51 kilometers ago, you can see what kind of fitness he has now as he's closing the gap up with no problem. As he closes the gap, Arkea Samsic's going to take over the front and start controlling the peloton as we get deep into the finish here of Cement. It's 1.7 kilometers to go. Arkea Samsic's still on the front. And then with 1.3, we start seeing Unibet rider on the front solo all by himself. Doesn't make much sense, but he's on the front and he's drilling it. With him on the front, we start going into 1 kilometer to go, and things are looking really interesting as we're coming into the roundabout. As we come into this roundabout, we see on the left side, it's Paul Magnaire there from Pseudo Quickstep flying around Mathieu van der Poel, who's sitting about 7th. And then on the right side, we see it's Arnaud De Lie coming around Mathieu van der Poel on the right side, jumping up on the sidewalk as they come off and they pinch off in front of Mathieu van der Poel. Well, Mathieu van der Poel doesn't like this, and he knows we're coming into the very meat and bones right here of today's finished semi-classic. So Mathieu van der Poel comes up on the inside with 600 meters to go and passes Paul Magnaire again to put himself up near the front. As he's up near the front, we're coming into the 400-meter right bend. As we're coming into the right bend there, Mathieu van der Poel's in a fine position. Astana's sitting first and second at the front of the peloton, and it's going a little bit wide through this corner, but look right back there at Hugo Hofstetter from Israel Premier Tech. He pulls out of his left pedal. When he does, Arnaud De Lie was coming up on the inside there, and I think he had a little bit of momentum to do something special, but now he's going to lose that momentum just as they're coming out of this right bend with about 300 meters to go. Now it's going a little bit wide, and we see that Paul Magnaire is right there by Mathieu van der Poel, and we see the Total Energy riders also along for the ride close by Paul Magnaire, and that rider there, Emilien Jeanner, well, he's one of the sprinters for Total Energy. That's why they were working back there to begin with. So now as we see Mathieu van der Poel sitting on the front, there's a little bit of hesitation, and it's not going full because there's not a full lead-out train for anybody at this moment. The Astana riders have 2, but that's it. So Mathieu van der Poel's got the feeling that he might have to light this stuff up. With 250 meters to go, he starts to accelerate on the pedals, and as he does, he sits right back down. But as he sits down, it's only for a second, then he gets back up on the pedals. We'll call it about 175 meters to go. Then Mathieu van der Poel kicks hard on the pedals. Once he does, he throws in a huge acceleration, and Paul Magnaire squeezes off the Total Energy rider there as he puts him to the left side of the fence. Well, Mathieu van der Poel's going full gas. Paul Magnaire's trying to hold on to Mathieu van der Poel's wheel up at about 100 meters to go. Paul Magnaire's got his tongue hanging out like he's Michael Jordan, only not in a good way. With 75 meters to go, we see Paul Magnaire's head drop, and with 50 meters to go, we see the gap extend with Mathieu van der Poel leading here at Cement. Now, once we come in just a couple meters to go, Mathieu van der Poel sits up. His arms start to go wide, looks back over his shoulder, makes sure he's got the win, and then he celebrates his first victory at the 25 road season here at Cement. Second on the stage, Paul Magnaire Third on the stage would be Emilien Jauner there from Total Energy to round out the podium here at Summit. Now, when I look at today's race, what do I think about Mathieu van der Poel? Well, I pretty much already told you guys, he's definitely on form. When you see the attacks from 65 kilometers ago, 51 kilometers ago, do you see the way that Alpecin de Koenig controlled the peloton throughout today's classic? And then you see the way Mathieu van der Poel rode himself to the front before that last 400-meter bend in perfect style and then let himself out. Okay, it's slightly uphill, but it was still very, very impressive sprint from Mathieu van der Poel. As he said in his post-race interview too, he felt confident that he could win the sprint. That's why after 50 kilometers ago, he decided not to do any more attacking because everybody was watching him. But when you look at his acceleration of standing up, sitting down to back off a little bit because he started his attack a little bit early. So he backed off, saved 10, 15, 20 meters, and then started his attack again and then blew everybody off his wheel to take what was a very nice victory here at Summit in the way and style and manner of which Mathieu van der Poel won it. So when we come to the end here of today's race, right now we know for sure Tadej Pogačar is on form, Jonas Vingegaard is on form, and Mathieu van der Poel is on form. The other three top six on the first page riders, they got some more work to do. As we know, Remco Evenepoel hasn't even started his 25 season, and we know Primoz Roglic is a little bit undertrained still, and we know Wout van Aert needs some more training too. So, hope you guys like the take up here on the Butterfly Effect. We got some more racing coming, so make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video real soon.